Buongiorno e benvenuti. My name is Giovanna and I welcome you to my kitchen on the cliff. Today we're going to be making a very traditional dish from my hometown, Ragusa in Sicily. We're going to make scacce. Scacce are a series of savory pies. Some of them look like pies and others look more like strudel or a folded bread. So today we're going to do the folded bread variety. This one is finger food. You can pick it up and take it to a picnic and eat it and enjoy it, and it's absolutely delicious and quite easy to make. I like to keep my flour in a bin like this for convenience. You just go into the bin and it's done. So we're going to need 6 cups of flour. I'm going to use shortening. Now my grandmother would have used lard. Lard gives you the best taste possible. However, if you don't want to use animal fat, then you use shortening. We're going to start with the yeast, and I'm going to put half a teaspoon. Now this yeast is interesting. This is an instant yeast, which is mixed with the dry ingredients, not with the wet ingredients. The difference is that you don't have to proof this. I have never had a problem with this in the centuries that I've been using it. So here's the yeast in there. Now we're going to put in half a cup of shortening. So we're going to put the shortening into the flour and then add 2 cups of warm water. Lastly, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. So after the dough comes together, I like to knead it a few turns. It's really not necessary, but I love to knead dough. Fold it towards you and then turn. We're shaping it into a ball and coating it with a few drops of olive oil. Tiny bit. And now we're going to cover it with an inverted bowl. While the dough is resting for about 30 minutes, we're going to make the filling. Okay. The filling is very simple. Parsley and garlic, salt and olive oil. If you use parsley or basil in Italian cooking, it must be fresh. Certainly don't substitute dried basil or dried parsley, because the flavor you will get is a little bit more than cut grass. So now I'm chopping the garlic with my own method. You see, I've cut it 4 ways and now I just chop it, see? We're going to put exactly a tablespoonful of salt. That's a tablespoonful of salt, and 3/4 of a cup of olive oil. Now this is not the traditional filling, because the traditional filling would include cheese. And so you will not change the filling in any way if you add between 1/2 cup and 3/4 of a cup of shredded Provolone, Caciocavallo, the semi-hard cheeses. And you put it all in there and you mix it. The second sauce we're going to make is the basil sauce. And what is more wonderful than the fragrance of basil? It's going to be basil, olive oil, tomato sauce, and garlic. Here's something that I learned from an article called Bonanza of Basil. And what she suggests is you take these ends of basil that you've bought at the supermarket and take the large leaves for your cooking, and then take what's left over, put it into a vase or a bottle. This will make roots. As soon as it makes roots, make a hole in the earth, whether it's in your garden or in a pot, and you just drop it into that hole and you will have basil all summer. The tip for today about basil. All right, first you wash your basil, dry it on paper towels. We're going to chop the basil, we'll put it in a bowl. We're going to add the garlic. Now we're going to make the sauce. We pour about 1/4 cup of olive oil in the pan. You want to cover the bottom of the pan, so please don't be stingy with olive oil. So I'm going to start by chopping the garlic right into the olive oil. Pay attention to the garlic because it burns very, very quickly, and we don't want to do that. The garlic is just beginning to get golden. That's the moment when you add the sauce. These are organic San Marzano tomatoes. They are whole and they are absolutely marvelous. We don't want to waste any of this. We take a half a container, we add this water to the sauce, and we bring it to a boil. We're going to add a teaspoon of sugar and a teaspoon of salt. Right? The sauce is boiling, the tomatoes have softened, and I'm now going to use a potato masher to mash the tomatoes. So we get a nice thick sauce, textured. The last thing we're going to add is our basil. This will now cook for 20 minutes to a half hour. Perfect. Okay, the sauce has cooked for a half an hour. It's dense, flavorful, wonderful. We're going to combine the sauce with the basil that we had previously chopped. We're going to add additional olive oil. This additional olive oil is what is going to create the layers that we so want. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? This is the dough that we prepared. We're going to flatten it, flour on top so it won't stick to the surface. Turn it, add some more flour, and we'll start rolling. This rolling pin simply allows me to roll it out wider than it was before. Half of the filling goes on the sheet itself. Isn't that nice? Now we're going to fold north to south and south to north. We're creating a rectangle. And now we're going to cover all the areas that are exposed. If you have white dough, it has to have filling. This is not something that you're going to find in the restaurants. If you want to have scaccia, what you do is you go to an agriturismo. Agriturismo, farms, could only serve what they make themselves. So if you're going to have a drink, you will have the wine that they make themselves. Please don't go into an agriturismo and ask for a Diet Coke. You won't get it because Diet Coke is not made in Sicily. This will go into a 375-degree oven and it will cook for 50 minutes. Look at that. After cooling this for about a half an hour and it's a little bit set, you cut it and you enjoy it. So now you know how to make two different kinds of scaccias from Ragusa, one with parsley and one with basil. Tutti a tavola? Buon appetito! Arrivederci, alla prossima volta!